Hello, wonderful people of the internet. We're going to be talking about my favourite French films and TV shows. I love to watch French films and TV shows because I find it really helps me to improve my French. If you would like to see more tips and tricks to help you with your French, I do have a whole video on that, so make sure to check that out. It will be up here. So I'm going to start with TV shows. The first TV show I'm going to talk about is Scam France. I think that's how you say it. It's because it's all capitals, I'm not too sure. But this show, it is addictive, I will not lie to you. It's like your proper like dramatic teenage drama. Scam is such a good show. I was very addicted to this show. I believe there's about 6 seasons, which is crazy. I've only seen the first 2, but I will be continuing to watch the rest of them. It's like your proper like teenage drama, romance, love triangles, you name it. So the first season mainly follows the lives of a group of teenage girls in high school. It's basically just them learning about friendship, love, loss, all of that stuff that you're trying to navigate at that age. Yeah, I would just recommend anyone to watch it, especially if you're a teenager. I think you'll love it. Yeah, I think this is just a good one to binge. I believe at first it was a Norwegian series and they did like a French remake of it, so I might watch the Norwegian series as well because I've heard that that's amazing. I would just really recommend it because it's an easy watch as well. You don't have to concentrate too hard, which I like, because you're already kind of having to concentrate quite a bit because it's in a different language. It's like easy to follow. That makes it a lot more fun when you're watching it.
Lucas, j'ai fait de la merde. T'es sûr que ça va au lycée? Tu peux tout me dire, hein, tu sais.
T'as complètement changé avec vos soirées de merde là.
The next show I'm going to be talking about is 10%. The English name for this is Call My Agent. This show, I have to say, is probably my favourite French TV show ever. Like, it's literally so good. I binge watched the entire thing during my A-levels. What a good decision that was. It's basically about a talent agency in Paris, and it's a big talent agency. Like, they manage like loads of really big stars. There's loads of like big screen celebrities that appear in the show. Cécile de France, Lynn Renault, I think that's how you say her name, I'm not sure. So it's following this talent agency. There's just so much drama and it's so funny as well. Each episode will kind of focus on a different character, which I really like. There's loads of like secrets.
Sorry, I can't search that, but I can search by title, actors, year, and categories like romantic comedies or sci-fi.
Anyway, there's currently 3 seasons of this show, and honestly I could not recommend it enough. Like, whenever someone asks me, okay, quick, give me a French TV show to watch, this is the first one I will say because it's just so good. It makes me want to live in Paris because you just got those like Paris, romantic Paris vibes. I know it's fiction, but it's kind of cool to see the inside works of like the industry, talent management, because I feel like that's something that, I mean, I was very curious when I first started watching it because it's not really something that anyone really knows about that well, like, because we're always focused on like the star, you know. To see the inner workings of it and how it actually all works is really cool. I love all the characters as well. They're also complex and they're really explored fully. The pilot actually opens with the death of like the founder of the agency, so you're straight away thrown into this drama of like who's gonna take over, who's gonna be in charge. Literally from the get-go you're thrown into this like chaotic agency environment. What's so refreshing is that the agents mostly fight for art over money, and I think there's such like a chemistry amongst the agents and their employees as well. What I love about the storyline is sympathy that's expressed for both the actor and the agent. The scripts are so witty. The like central characters are very well defined and played amazingly. And the acting is incredible, and it just makes you want to watch more. Like, you just want to know more about these people and why they have this job. It really digs deep into that, and I think it has quite a unique take on the entertainment industry, because obviously there is a lot of stuff out there that is, you know, about the industry, but I think because it's from the agent's perspective, it's very unique and fresh. It's on Netflix, so easy to access, and I just love it.
C'est vous ma famille, vous et mes acteurs.
The next show I'm going to talk about is Plan Cœur. In English it's called The Hookup Plan. Again, this is on Netflix as well, and it's Oh, such a good show. There's 2 seasons. The main protagonist, Elsa, starts with her just having had like a really bad breakup. She's not really getting over it, like she's still kind of hung up on this guy. Her 2 best friends, Charlotte and Emile, basically are really worried about her. So because her friends are so worried about her, they end up hiring a male sex worker to be her boyfriend, but they don't tell her. So they plan out the whole thing, like they give him a new phone and the number, and they tell him, okay, Elsa's gonna be here at this point, this is when you're gonna introduce yourself. And as you can imagine, they start to, you know, form a relationship. Things get messy. The show really explores the impact of lies and secrecy and how it just never ends well. Aside from the drama, it's also very, very entertaining and very funny. There are so many cliffhangers in this show. When you get to the end of season 1, you are going to be like, what? And you're going to go straight to season 2. I'm just hoping there's going to be a season 3, because if there isn't, I will be so upset. It's very rom-com style. I love the storyline and the fact that it's not just about Elsa and this guy, but it's also about the friendship between the 3 main characters and that like female bond between them. That's like the most important thing. They all really bring each other up and are honest with each other, and they learn that throughout the series, which is very refreshing.
C'est trop chelou ce soir. Vous me cachez un truc ou quoi?
Now on to film. So the first film I'm going to talk about is Coco Chanel. The movie is basically about the life of Coco Chanel, and it starts from when she was a baby basically, and follows her entire life up until the moment where she becomes as successful as she became. And this was so interesting because I honestly didn't know anything about her. The reason I watched it is because I was doing a research project on her for my A-level research project in French. I enjoyed it so much. Her life is so interesting. She actually was an orphan, so she grew up in an orphanage with her sister, and she learned how to sew in the orphanage. It turned out that she had like a natural sort of gift for sewing and like making things, and she actually first started out by opening a hat boutique where she would like make hats and sell hats. It follows her many romantic relationships as well, which is really interesting to see. Her real name is actually Gabrielle as well, which is really interesting. I didn't know that. And she is portrayed by Audrey Tautou. She's one of my favorite actresses as well. She is in Amélie, which is a very, very famous French film. I'm sure you probably have heard of it, which is another one of my favorites. A lot of the film tells the story of her life around like the end of the First World War. So when she was in like her mid-20s, she actually had a very troubled early life, and she actually used to be in like a singing double act with her sister. She actually used to sing a song about a dog called like Coco or something like that, and that's how she got her name, which is so interesting. And you actually see how sort of her iconic style of the clothing kind of developed, and it developed from the fact that women's clothing at that time was very, very uncomfortable. It was all very tight corsets and like big poofy skirts, all about kind of making a woman pleasing to the male gaze. Gabrielle Chanel basically looked at that and said, no, I want to be comfortable, and she started wearing like, I think she started off wearing men's clothing, like, or more masculine clothing, so she would wear like shirts and ties and stuff like that. And then when it came to her designs, a lot of her designs are quite loose, but they're still like so beautiful and elegant, comfortable for women. She actually, I think she invented the first like pair of trousers for women, and she also invented the iconic little black dress as well. Yeah, I think it's just really cool to see her whole journey, how she created her fashion empire basically. It made me laugh, it made me cry. Definitely would recommend this movie.
Toutes les femmes te regardent.
Toutes les femmes te regardent toi.
The next movie is kind of like a French classic that I think everyone should see, and that is La Haine. It follows 3 boys living in Les Banlieues, which is basically like the suburbs of Paris, a much like poorer area of Paris. Follows Van, Saïd and Hubert. It basically follows 20 hours of them going around Paris. At the beginning of the film, we see that a boy named Abdel was actually shot by the police, and then this kind of triggered an ongoing cycle of riots between young people of Le Banlieue and the police. The whole film is in black and white as well. There's some beautiful cinematography. I love how the director used a lot of traveling shots where he would like follow them as they were walking around, because it kind of just emphasizes like the space around them and how their surroundings really kind of impact them. It kind of follows this idea of like hate just breeds more hate and violence, and it's just a vicious cycle. And the director was actually inspired by true events. A young man named Zer, I think that's how you say it, was shot by a police officer. So when we first meet the characters, it's kind of in the aftermath of the riots that took place the night before. And what's really interesting as well, in the opening credits, the scenes of the riots that you see is actually real footage from real riots. Kind of see how these characters are victims of just a broken and failing system, how much they're affected by unemployment, racism, exclusion. I actually studied this film for my A-levels as well. I kind of have a new appreciation for it now because obviously I had to watch it a lot and it kind of became a chore, but I watched it again recently whilst being in my gap year. I have a new love for it now. There's basically a rumour going around that a gun was lost during the riots and no one knows where it is, but then we actually find out that Vance has the gun. So he keeps it a secret for quite a while, but then he eventually does admit to Uber and Saeed that he's going to use it to kill a police officer to basically avenge the death of his friend Abdel, who was shot. So from that point the tension kind of escalates. Vance really uses the gun to assert his power. Things get really messy. A lot of the time we often see Paris as a romanticized city, very glamorous, romantic, but this film is the complete opposite of that. There are definitely scenes in the film that are difficult to watch, but it's such like a classic in terms of French cinema, so I would definitely recommend that you watch it.
C'est l'histoire d'un homme qui tombe d'un immeuble de 50 étages. Le mec, au fur et à mesure de sa chute, il se répète sans cesse pour se rassurer. Jusqu'ici, tout va bien. Jusqu'ici, tout va bien. Jusqu'ici, tout va bien. Mais l'important, c'est pas la chute. C'est l'atterrissage.
So the next film is actually on Netflix called I Am Not an Easy Man. This film is so interesting. It's basically about an alternate universe where gender roles are swapped. Our main character, Damien, he is basically walking down the street one day. Just as he catcalls two teenage girls, he basically bumps into a lamppost and hits his head. He goes unconscious, and then when he wakes up in this alternate universe where the gender roles are switched, so women are the more powerful sex and men are oppressed. Honestly, I think everyone should see this film. It's so interesting when you see the gender roles switch. Like, the film really visually demonstrates how unequal patriarchal societies are. Like, at first it's really funny because you're like, oh my god, like what? But then you slowly realize throughout the film that this ludicrous world is simply just a mirror of our own world. It kind of forces you to question your own habits, and I love when a film does that. Like, I love when it makes you question things. It really does just make you realize how messed up gender roles actually are and how patriarchal societies really just aren't good for anyone. And I found like watching the film quite liberating. I don't know why. And then I watched an interview with the director, Eleanor Porriat, and she was saying that a lot of people say that about the film, that they find it quite liberating to watch. I thought the acting was incredible, the script was just so well written. I was actually thinking about this film for like a week after seeing it. Like, it was just playing on my mind because it's just so like such like a clever premise.
Débarrasser des meufs. Mais elle, j'ai une trouille, c'est qu'elle disparaisse.
Imaginez un monde où ce sont les femmes qui se font belles pour moi. C'est moi qui leur fais des compliments.
Quelle horreur!
So the next film is actually also on Netflix as well, and it's called Nothing to Hide. In French it's called Le Jeu. The whole film is set at a dinner with a group of friends. All the friends are like, they come as couples, so it's like a couples friends dinner thing. Somebody at the table says, oh, let's play a game. Let's all put our phones facing upwards in the middle of the table, and whenever someone gets a text you have to read it out, or whenever someone calls you have to answer it and put it on speakerphone. And people start getting texts from people that they're cheating on with. It really just shows you like how phones and like text and technology has like impacted us and impacted relationships. It's really intense when you're watching it. It's like, because you don't leave that space. Like, the whole film is them in this house. The majority of the film is around the table when they're having dinner, so you don't really leave that space. It's like very intense.
On a un message.
Je veux ton corps. Bah c'est qui?
Je t'avais dit que ce jeu c'était pas une bonne idée.
So the next film is Gullet, or Bon de Vie. So this film is also set in Le Banlieue, kind of like Latin. The main character, Mariem, she basically lives in Le Banlieue. She's kind of torn between childhood and adulthood, as well as being driven to margins by her age, race and gender, and she's trying to navigate that all. The system basically fails her, where her teacher says to her, we can't offer you any further education. This basically means that she turns to this group of girls, Lady, Adieto and Philly, and they basically form like a girl gang. She also has to look after her little sisters while steering clear from her older brother, who's very abusive. There are definitely a lot of sad moments. There are a lot of moments in the film that are like really hard to watch. We just follow her as she's going through this journey, how she finds strength in the company of Lady Adieto and Philly. The cinematography in this movie is so beautiful. There's this one scene where all the girls are dancing to Rihanna and the lighting is just so beautiful. The shots are beautiful, but the actresses in this film are honestly incredible. Céline Sciamma, she is just like, she's such a good director. She's one of my favorite directors, so I kind of knew I was going to enjoy this film when I first watched it.
Et là, je me suis arrêtée et je vous ai regardé. Vous étiez belle. Et je me suis dit que ce moment, il était parfait. Et que je n'oublierai jamais.
The last film I'm going to talk about is also on Netflix, and it's called Vie Scholar. It's set in a high school in le banlieue de Paris as well. You might notice there's a theme going on here. The main reason I've been watching these types of films is because I studied Latin at school. I kind of wanted to see more films that were similar, just so I could kind of draw parallels. I'm also going to be doing film and TV at uni in September, so I kind of just enjoy comparing between different films and different styles and all of that. So basically, a new counsellor, she joins this new school. It's in like quite a rough area and the school isn't great, and she kind of like devotes her time to helping these teenagers that haven't really been given a lot of attention or help. We see her form this bond with this particular teenager because his dad is in prison and the counsellor's husband is also in prison. They kind of like form this bond. They can kind of relate to one another. The film draws a lot of parallels between the teachers and the students. So there's this one scene where the students are having a big party and the teachers are also having a party, but like a separate party. There are these shots where it will move between each party, and I just thought it was so cool. I also could kind of see some influence from Latin in this film as well, again with the traveling shot, which I thought was really interesting. Again, there are moments that are like quite hard to watch, but I think there are also some really funny moments as well. Like it takes you through all the emotions, and it just shows how the system is failing these kids, and it explores themes of, again, race, gender, how it's affecting these students. It really explores the faults of the educational system and how it really is only suited to like a certain type of person, and if you don't fit into that tiny box, then it's like, well, there's nothing we can do for you.
T'es arrivé en retard à cause de la grève.
Ah oui, il y avait la grève.
C'était une grève Air France et t'habites au bout de la rue.
Non, j'avoue, celle-là, j'ai un peu abusé.
So that is all the films and TV shows I have to share with you guys. If you would like me to do this again, I definitely will, because I have loads more films and TV shows on my French watch list. We're doing okay right now. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe and healthy and at home. I'm sending you lots of love and positivity. Subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. Follow me on Instagram. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next video. Au revoir!